All right, let's talk about a compound that is absolutely blowing up in fitness and biohacking circles, FST 344. You've probably heard the hype, right? That it's some kind of a miracle for muscle growth. Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and find out what the actual science has to say.
But first, just think about this for a second. What if you could literally flip a switch and just turn off your body's natural brakes on how big and strong your muscles can get? I mean, that's the incredible, almost sci-fi promise that's at the very heart of the FST-34 story.
So, to kick things off, let's unpack that potential. We're going to look at the science behind the promise, the very idea that's got everyone so excited and curious.
So what exactly is FST-344? Well, at its most basic, follistatin 344 is a protein that our own bodies make. And its job is pretty amazing. You can think of it like a bouncer at a club. It's there to find and stop specific signals that are telling your muscles, okay, that's enough, stop growing now.
Okay, but how does it actually do that? How does it pull it off on a biological level? Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of the mechanism, the real science of how FST-344 works its magic inside your body.
So to understand FST-344, you first have to meet its arch nemesis, a protein called myostatin. The best way to think of myostatin is as the brake pedal for your muscles. Its entire purpose, its reason for existing, is to keep your muscle growth in check so it doesn't get out of control.
And here's how the showdown goes down. See, normally, myostatin is floating around putting up stop signs for muscle growth. But when FST-344 shows up on the scene, it basically hunts down myostatin, binds to it, and completely neutralizes it. It takes its foot right off the brake. And with myostatin sidelined, the go signals for muscle growth can finally get to work. Now, that all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But does it actually work in practice? Let's take a look at the research. And it's really, really important to pay attention to how these studies were done, because it makes all the difference. The early results from animal studies were, frankly, staggering. In preclinical trials, scientists saw huge jumps in both muscle size and strength in mice with muscular dystrophy, and even in primates. And here's a really key detail. They didn't find any major, scary disruptions to their hormones. That's a huge plus.
And this is where it gets really exciting. The research eventually moved to humans, a clinical trial for patients with Becker muscular dystrophy. And as you can see from this quote from the study, it worked. They saw real, measurable improvements. Patients could physically walk farther, and when they looked at their muscle tissue under a microscope, they saw healthier muscle with less scarred tissue. This was a massive step forward.
But wait, hold on, because this is where the story takes a massive turn. The way they got these incredible results, well, that's the single most important detail in this whole thing, and it's exactly where the internet hype and the actual science start to go in very different directions.
This brings us right to the core of the whole discussion, the massive, critical difference between FST-344 delivered as gene therapy versus FST-344 sold as an injectable peptide. They are not the same thing.
Okay, let's break this down. On one hand, you have gene therapy. This is what they used in all those successful studies we just talked about. They basically give your muscle cells the genetic blueprint, the instructions, to start making their own FST-34-4, turning them into little follistatin factories. All the strong, compelling scientific data we have, it comes from this method. Then on the other hand, you have the injectable peptide. This is the stuff you might see sold online. This is just injecting the finished protein directly. And here's the kicker. There is no strong clinical evidence that this method actually works effectively in humans.
So, let's be absolutely crystal clear about this, because this is the main takeaway. When you hear about those amazing science-backed results for FST-344, that proof is for the gene therapy method. It is not for the injectable peptide you can buy online.
So, where does that leave us? What's the bottom line here? Let's finish up by looking at what the future might hold for this incredible science, and just as importantly, the very real risks and a lot of the unknowns.
You know, the research here isn't just about getting bigger muscles. There's real therapeutic potential for things like muscle regeneration, fighting inflammation, even preventing scar tissue buildup. But there are still big question marks, like theoretical concerns about what it could do to reproductive hormones. And I have to say it one more time, the products sold online are labeled for research use only for a reason. They have not been clinically validated for safety or effectiveness in people.
And for any athletes watching, you need to know this. FST-344 and anything like it are completely banned by every major anti-doping agency, period. It's a prohibited substance because of how powerfully it can affect muscle.
So we're left with this really fascinating question, aren't we? Is FSD344 a genuine peek into the future of genetic medicine? A world where we can tell our bodies to heal and grow in ways we never thought possible? Or is it a cautionary tale for our time? A perfect example of how easily hype and excitement can get way, way ahead of the slow, careful process of real science. The truth is, it's probably a little bit of both.